Hi, I'm Sven. Maybe some of you saw my talk earlier today. If not trying to repeat myself on the panel today. I work for Gerhard, so representing the Volkswagen Group. We're the software division and working across the brands of the Volkswagen family, so Audi, Porsche, Seat, Cupra, Skoda, and so on.
Hi everyone, I'm Casper. I'm a designer, so I'm trying to blend in today with the developers. I lead the product team over at Snap Automotive with Juhani. So we're a company dedicated to Android automotive, and we work with OEMs to help build their infotainment systems, and we have our own infotainment system as a product.
Hi, I'm Gerhard. I'm with Harman now for nearly 6-7 years, and I started with Harman for connectivity and telematics services, so joined the transformation from 4G to 5G, and now I'm transferring myself into the Ignite store team, responsible for content strategy, and you can see our Harman Ignite store and all the apps that we have and how we do the onboarding process and all this stuff at our booth together with Gerhard. And if you have further questions, join us.
Hi, my name is Niklas. I'm with BMW. I started my journey in BMW 8 years ago when I started my PhD, researching how we can get digital platforms, or in other words, app stores into cars. Did this for 3 years, and I was lucky then afterwards to become product owner of the team that is now currently building the actual store. So the store client in our cars is done in my team, and I'm also happy to be part of this whole Covesa initiative that we just heard about in Juhani's talk. Yeah, looking forward for the discussion.
Okay. Hello, Jose. I'm head of product at Freitas. We provide a white label app store for the OEMs to bring new apps into the cars. So we are a bit in the middle, trying to do the bridge. Previously worked for an OEM on Android Automotive during a few years, so I know a bit of the two worlds, the OEM side and also the app developers' challenges, and looking forward for the discussion.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm the weird one because I don't even have a car. I'm a cyclist. But I've been around, like similar to Juhani or Eric this morning, for a long time in the mobile industry. Like I did BlackBerry apps before Google entered the market, and then there was no BlackBerry anymore. And also, like I did the Android Auto app for SoundCloud a few years ago, and now we have an Automotive OS app. So I'm probably here for representing the app developers that you want in the store.
Cool, thanks. So Danny's going to be representing all of you, channeling the app developer here. That's good. So let's start from, I don't know how many of you were in my ramblings earlier, but I think the core question is, what is the role of third-party apps in the cars in general? Why do we need apps at all from third parties in there?
Maybe let me start to find or to try and answer. A couple of years ago, people have been asking, why do we apps on the TV? Then the question came up, why do we apps on the watch? And there are places, for sure. You know, the core competency of automotive manufacturers and automotive suppliers is to build cars, reliable cars, safe cars, fast cars, fun cars, whatever. But the core competency is not to build additional experience based on apps. And this is where all the third parties can come into the game. There's so many opportunities in the automotive environment. And it's not only about bringing apps into cars, it's also about bringing cars into apps. And this is a big opportunity for any app developer to enhance the experience in the car for the passengers, during driving, during resting, during planning purposes, for bringing in additional features, additional content to enhance the experience of the passengers.
Perhaps here to add the perspective of an OEM. So you mentioned it already before, and Juhani, for us, this whole effort is under the aspect of innovation. We strongly believe in the open innovation that is brought by third parties to our cars. Traditionally, car manufacturers are used to build a product, and we think of all the aspects of this product that we're designing and developing and producing. But at some point, you simply need to acknowledge that that cannot compete with the potential that is brought by an open ecosystem where not just people within the company, but also people outside the company can bring their ideas, their innovation into our products. And this is what we see, and this is also what we know what our customers do expect. So they do expect to have their apps that they're using every day, everywhere on their devices available in their car. And also the digital innovation that everybody is used to nowadays from their phones, from their speakers, from their whatsoever, that the car as a digital device, as you would call it in marketing slang, is also keeping up with that pace of innovation. And that can only be delivered with an open ecosystem.
Maybe to add one thing there, that when we talk about innovation, not everyone out there might agree. Because automotive is also lacking behind if you compare it to other devices, about the flexibility, about that it's been for decades when you drive the car off the lot, that's it. It was very hard to do anything beyond that. So now with something that's been around on like connected TVs and mobiles and stuff for many years, we finally get to that point that the car can maybe not entirely compete, but is at least catching up in some aspects and actually enabling a life cycle beyond what happens when you buy the car or it's been produced. And that's an opportunity, obviously, for us as car manufacturers, but also for the people who are providing services for them. And I think that's a bit of a game changer. So late to the game, but finally getting somewhere.
Well, if you look at the car, it's kind of a smartphone on steroids. You have a different, more powerful sound system, you have ambient light, you have access to the car data. There's a lot of potential there, different use cases that we can bring into the cars, and I think we're still lacking this innovation. So we are on the early stages of the ecosystem, but we need app developers to come on board. And we need to build the trust that the OEMs will also support all the interfaces, that the apps can be built once and deployed everywhere. And we're there for some categories of apps, like the audio apps. The simplest categories, we're not fully there for other categories, but that's the kind of trust that we need to build, make the interfaces available, and to unlock different experience.
I think that goes interestingly to the kind of experience. What is currently the dev experience for automotive is quite poor. What are the kind of the biggest blockers, and what can we do about it? Danny, can you tell me about a little bit what was difficult to put? You put sound card in gas, right? For other reason. What are the blockers? What were the difficulties of building a sound card? Is a simple app, not to diminish, but it's just an audio application, and it should have just worked, but it didn't. So, what was the process, and what was the blockers for you?
Sure. Let me just add just on top, like, although I'm a bit skeptical of the whole ecosystem, right? It's like very fluid, but there's definitely a chance for app developers because people spend a lot of times in their cars. Like, main focus for SoundCloud is the US, and people spend a lot of time in their cars, so there's definitely time to capture attention for an audio app, for example. Also, people expect it. Plus, if they can afford a car, they probably can afford your subscription, so they might be very valuable customers. So we did Android Auto, which was very straightforward, I have to say. For an audio app, there's not so much to do. And then I remember Google saying, hey, for automotive app, all you need is a login screen and a settings screen, and then you're done. It wasn't like this, and I think if I ever go to my team again and saying it should be simple, they will kill me, so it wasn't. The biggest problem, I think, were the tools. So the automotive tools feels like, also the one from Google, like in the early days of Android, like everything is command line, and then you learn, oh yeah, if this crashes, then you have to do this first. I mean, it's very weird compared to where we are nowadays with Android Studio. And then testing with the emulator is not enough. I remember, Juhani had a Polestar, and I sent him the build literally every morning. He started it crashed. I had a crash log. Next morning, I sent him another build. This is literally, for us, it's hard because we don't have the hardware. And yeah, we make the jokes, please buy the car, but of course your company will not buy a car for you.
Well, we go then beyond, maybe Joseph for you, but Harman as well. What can we do about this? Because it's in gas system, it should be simple, and it wasn't. Right? When you go beyond, it's even worse. So what's going to happen when I send you an APK and it crashes on BMW that is not launched? What can I do as a developer? What is the process? What can we do to help there?
So, I mean, the ecosystem, it's not mature enough at this stage. So we, in the middle, doing the bridge between the app developers and the OEMs, we help validate all the apps. So usually what we have a first, let's say, OEM agnostic certification process for the apps, where we run on a reference hardware. But then usually it's up to the OEMs to select which apps they want. And when they select a specific app, we need to make sure that it runs properly on the OEM hardware. And what we find out when we start testing on the OEM hardware, it's sometimes there's some incompatibilities. And we're trying to mediate. We have teams just doing the analysis of the problems and trying to tell, no, this is an OEM problem, needs to be fixed on the host system, this is an app problem, needs to be fixed on the app side. So eventually we'll get to a stage where both parts of the platform are stable enough and mature enough to be just plug and play. But we're not there yet. So today it's still an ecosystem very controlled by the OEMs, where the OEMs will select the apps and we will help validate all the apps. But it's fine if we're talking about dozens, hundreds of apps. If we go to thousands, it's not scalable. So, but eventually, if the platforms are more standardized and more mature, we won't need that much testing on the different hardware.
Maybe to add a little bit, as you said before, we as a tier one, as an automotive app store supplier, we close the gap between the app developers and the automotive manufacturers, and this is we did understand the automotive ecosystem a little bit. The app developers come from the world of the IT, of the smartphone, and now try to come over to the automotive ecosystem. We and the automotive manufacturers come from the opposite side, from manufacturing cars, manufacturing hardware, software for the cars, and we now have to think about how to close the gap to the other side, to the app developers. And this is a multidimensional communication. It's not easy. It's a learning path from both sides. And this is what we need to close also, to take the best out of these two worlds, bring it together, and have the understanding from both sides for the opposite side one. It's not easy. It's our daily job to make this multidimensional communication between the app developers and the automotive OEMs, and both sides are learning. It's ongoing.
One quick addition also to your point about how painful it was to develop. We definitely see that, and we think that there's certainly a way to go in terms of making a better developer experience and also the onboarding journey. And we at Gerhard do a lot of the QA, and we have the fun situation that we're doing this for multiple brands. So the Porsche screen is different than an Audi screen, is different than the Bentley screen, and then there's also some different system specifics and stuff. So that's definitely a lot of fun for everyone involved. But also maybe a bit on the pro side, there's this audio app, small one with the green logo from Sweden, and they literally like clapped because they did Linux projects before and they took forever and then some, and that Android, at least from the template and how long it takes to develop an app, that is something that is at least promising and a step into the right direction. So I think that there's definitely potential there, and I think we're also getting better with the audio apps that are starting to scale now.
I would like to add another perspective here. So one thing is that the things that, okay, we are giving the app and then we're trying to run it, but there's also one thing I learned whenever I take like a Miles car or whatever, one of these rentals, I make basically photos from the Android Auto app, SoundCloud app in the car, because they look different. Like these displays are different everywhere, right? Some is partially on the main display, partially there, the size is different, and we have a designer here, and I'm curious, like, because as app developers, we control everything. In the car, it's the opposite. We don't even know how the car will render this. So I'm curious, like, how does the designer work with app, and what do we need to learn as app developers here?
Yeah, the design part is interesting. So obviously the design is very limited. You're stuck to using the Google templates for good reason, or other templating systems because of distraction-related issues. And so for a design perspective, there isn't much you can do for third parties. And I think that's actually good for third-party developers. You basically determine which template you want to use, you stick with the rules, and you can be sure that it's the least worst experience of using an app inside a car while driving. So the design part is very small, and it's basically you're left to the templating system and how the manufacturer has integrated the templates with the branding. So, of course, if you work directly with an OEM, you can work with them and you can avoid the templating issue, and then you unlock a lot more opportunities for the design. I think Juhani has mentioned already some things in the previous previous presentation, where the imaginary scenario where you order something and the car sends information to the takeout app, and you can show a notification and things like that. There's lots of opportunities, but the templating system is what blocks designers in one way, but also ensures safety in case, that you can mess up the design pretty easily inside of a car as well.
This brings in an interesting discussion. There's two OEM people here at least. The car brands, the brand is extremely valuable to car makers. This, in the future, is going to be very, very important. Right? So when you start sharing development platforms between each other, because I remember, when Android was new on phones, they talked about differentiation. Well, we need to be different because we want to have our own brand, we want to own our own clients. We hear the same things from the automotive manufacturers now, and everybody tries to do different things. But if we start working together to build APIs, we kind of convert, we kind of meet in the middle. How do you feel? Is there a risk that we're going to lose the identity, or what's going to happen then when we work together?
I mean, I guess you can imagine that there are multiple opinions within our organization in that discussion. I can give you the feedback from our store team, and this is also what we're trying to communicate within our organization. From our perspective, the catalog of third-party apps is not differentiating factor. Like we are happy to join forces with others. This is why we're engaged in Covesa, for example, because we strongly believe that in the end, all our customers will benefit if we have the apps available that are relevant. I mean, you mentioned that before, you don't need a big number of apps, you need the right apps in there. I mean, of course, if you have a big number, you're increasing likelihood that the right ones will be there. But in the end, the number of apps that are installed and used by our customers on a daily basis, this is the critical KPI here for getting this a success. And we will only achieve that if we are able to attract enough people that are willing to develop apps for our cars. And especially we as BMW, we don't have the largest volumes in the car industry. So from our perspective, the only way to make the ecosystem work in a way that it really attracts developers and is attractive for developers is to join forces with others. And the consequence is, of course, that this is definitely no differentiating factor.
We have the largest volumes in the industry, so we're fine. No, honest answer. It's a little bit of a split. There is the angel and the devil sitting on the shoulder. Scale, super important, totally agree with you. Making it easy for app developers to join the ecosystem and to also scale across platforms. I think that's super important, and that's what I think also in terms of monetization or reach and also combining efforts, that's super strategic in a sense as well. Now comes the but. Is that differentiation is a topic, and even with us being sort of a family of brands, you have different target groups driving those cars, and you have people who might be, okay, gaming is super important. No, this is super important. No, I have a different target audience, you know, younger people who are driving cars, maybe more age group as well. So finding that sweet spot and finding a mixture between commodity in some way as a baseline, like having the services from other walks of life in the car and getting customers happy with that, but also adding personality to it, personalization and elements that can go beyond and providing new use cases. I think that's the challenge that we have ahead of us in the next few years, and it's going to be a tough one.
Just a quick comment on potential ways of differentiation from a Tier 1 point of view. We are not an OEM. But look on a smartphone. If you have an app on a smartphone that just deals with some data, some content like streaming data or something like this, there is no differentiation if you have it on a smartphone manufacturer A or B. The differentiation comes when an app deals with specific feature of this or that smartphone. Is it a movement sensor? Is it GPS accuracy? Whatever. And I think very similar approaches will also apply in the automotive world. Real differentiation of apps will become visible when the app really works together with a car environment, with the data from the car, from and to the car, both directions, also with the backend services. So the moment where an app is really designed to support the features of a car in an optimum way, then the app itself can generate much more differentiation than just an app like video streaming or audio streaming.
I would have a direct response on that because I would basically agree, but I would say not for the sake of scale. This is really important. I mean, of course, we have a lot of discussion about doing proprietary integrations with some of these third-party services that are out there and having direct partnerships whatsoever. We don't really believe in the sustainability of this. We would like to have, this can only work if this is really also paying out for the app developers, that they maintain it also in 5, 6, 7 years. And like if we do a proprietary integration of some of the vehicle interfaces that are there, the likelihood is not very high because also our interfaces will evolve and the third party need to adapt and so on and so on. So it can only work in a standardized way. So
fully agree.
Okay.
Let me just add something. Because even within the principle of build once, deploy everywhere, if you look, for instance, at one of the most popular categories of apps, the audio templated, there's lots of room for differentiation between the different OEMs. So we are live with 8 car brands, and if you look at the experience on a Dacia, on a Mini, or on a BMW of the same app, it's completely different. And there's room to differentiate there. You have the Mini round screen, you can have more integration with the instrument cluster, with the head-up display, with the steering wheel, that's up to the OEM. There's room for the OEM within this framework, following the template without deviating, to still have some differentiation.
I want to ask a question to the panelists here a bit. So from the app perspective, like app developer perspective, I mean, we're doing this for a while. We have our processes. Most of us, I don't know, release like weekly, bi-weekly. Everything is automated. This is very far off, I think, from the way cars work or innovation cycles there. So how do we work together there? What do we need, because what I'm a bit afraid of is also a bit the early days of like Android. We uploaded something to some app store. The uploading and pushing, it's fine, right? But then the app was lying there and rotting there for years. No one will care. Oh yeah, did we have an Amazon App Store app? Oh, the thing is still there. No one knows how got it there, because we have a complete ecosystem, and the way we develop apps is very far from probably how the testing also for a store is before it reaches like a BMW or something. So I'm curious, like, how do we together here? What is the way to go forward there?
Pick this one. So, I mean, we're not as fast as you guys are, that's for sure. We have some automation to some of the apps. I mean, the media templated ones are probably the easier ones to automate because the template is always the same. And we have some kind of automation, but still is not as fast as as on the consumer electronic. So we still need to get through our internal approval, we need to go through the security screening, and then we need to go through the OEM specific validation, and the OEM needs to approve. So currently it's not like, we can get it in a couple of days, but we cannot get it in a couple of days for hundreds of apps at the same time, because it's not everything fully automated. But I think the challenge is that as we scale, as we get more apps, we will get into more automation. And even the OEMs that today they want to control everything and to validate everything before going live, which is understandable. I think in the future we'll need to move more to a consumer electronic approach where the users will vote. They will write the apps, they will select which ones they want, which ones are the good ones, which ones are not so good. But for now, at least in the early stages of the ecosystem, there's still lots of manual validation and approval process.
Fantastic. After my next question, we can take questions from the audience. If you have anything you want to ask, come to the mic and I call you up next. Couple of things, we've been talking about these things, what the cars expose, and we can do cool things and so on. Is there something that you kind of, what are the important things coming next? What are the things that app developers can tap into other than, speed? Is there something interesting coming up? What would you like to see there? Of course, OEMs, I know you can't just say, talk about the future, but you can speculate a little bit. What would be the thing that would make app development interesting for cars?
I mean, one of the most obvious ones, of course, it's the camera. There's the vehicle properties, so there's a lot of already standardized vehicle properties that you get from the car for EV charging cars, for EV cars, for instance. Our expectation is also that within the scope of Covesa, we can expand further the types of properties that are being exposed, and the OEMs agree to support those properties, or eventually even being adopted by AOS, by Google. I mean, for now, we would say that our reference is what is on the AOS API, plus the early work that is being done at the Covesa, but we expect to expand it further. Also, within Covesa, there's a vehicle sign-in specification, a bit lower level stuff, but our expectation is that in the near future, most of these signals will be exposed to the Android layer, of course, with specific permissions. Not all the third-party apps will be able to access all the signals, but that's our expectation, at least that the OEMs agree on a framework to access the data in a standardized way.
We think there's a ton of stuff that's exciting, that is kind of pushing the envelope and opening up new opportunities. I think monetization is one, so that payment is coming in the car and making it seamless, and that transactions are becoming something that actually works in the vehicle and makes everyone's lives easier, hopefully. Then things which are close to the in-vehicle use cases, parking, charging, even though still some fueling going on as well. Things around navigation and point of interest elements that have a more holistic and integrated complete journey assistance. So I talked about our ChatGPT integration before, and actually having conversational style assistant that is engaging with you and is tapping into different services. Exposing additional APIs to third parties that might be really easy stuff, like giving the mileage for fleet services and rentals. That's still something which is difficult, and that is certainly interesting. Food ordering, we just had that, geofencing, smart home functionalities. So there's a ton of stuff I could go on for ages. So we think the future is bright in that sense.
And maybe let's think a little bit out of the box also. The app developers can leave really their ideas fly away around. Assume a future where we have all these standards and all these Covesa topics solved. So we have a standardized access possibility to cars across OEM, of course. One thinking about a solution that take, or apps that take all the sensors that we have in the cabin. Cabin is full of sensors, cameras, radar, sonic sensors. We have so many gesture controls. Everything is available in the future for us. Why not taking this type of sensors to change the behavior during driving or during the stop mode? Just one potential idea to the app developers. Imagine using a car's cabin as a cinema cabin. And when you look on the video on the screen, it's just not just only watching the video. Maybe you can change the equalizer function of the audio system depending on the content of the video to make it dramatic, to make it soft, whatever. So really, let your ideas fly around. Imagine that all the problems we're discussing are solved in the future, and what could be possible then? Of course, it's not next year, maybe not in 2 years, but in a couple of years, hopefully, we get all these problems solved.
Maybe as a counterpoint to this, so we have the 3 app stores here, and we hear 3 different sets of APIs again, different ideas, which means an app developer would have to build apps for the Gerhard store, for all the different stores. And maybe it's important to address the elephant in the room, which is mobile mirroring. And today, those are the biggest platforms. They do not make use of the car sensors, but they provide really valuable apps already. The main use cases while driving is navigation, media, and those are by far the main used apps in the cars today. They blast music over the speakers of the car. Of course, if you have more access to sensors in the car, you can make a nicer experience. But is it absolutely crucial to have it? Perhaps not. Perhaps it's enough to have navigation and media and focus on unifying it all, reducing complexity for developers so that you end up with a Google automotive services platform and another platform, and make sure developers can iterate quickly, make it very easy to release apps. So just as a counterpoint, I want to provide the other side of like all of this innovation. It's very nice, but it also gets in the way of the ecosystem again a little bit.
I think the ecosystem part is good. We've been talking about Covesa and site sensors and some things. I think a big portion of the automotive industry is on board of the initiative of unifying the platform and having APIs available across OEMs. It's a long way to go, and like I said before, it's a committee of committees, so it's very, very slow process, and automotive is slow already. So as app developers, we're not used to that one. We hear something we want tomorrow, like that's it. If it's not tomorrow, we forget it, we never hear it again, and we move on. What are kind of your vision and understanding? What's going to happen with this joint effort? Will it work out? Are you committed? What do you want to do with it?
So first of all, I would like to say that I fully agree with everything you said. So it's tricky, it's a bumpy road, and car manufacturers are not really used to collaborate in the way that it's required here. But I mean, what gives us some hope is that we're seeing first results here. We do have the Covesa SDK online. We agreed on the push notifications topic. So there are first steps. And yeah, but what we definitely need to do here is build trust so that you guys believe in these efforts, that the app developers believe in these efforts, and that also requires that we are reliable in that sense, that we stick to that activity, that we continuously proceed there. And also listen to the voice of the app developers. This is also really important to us. So we don't just want to say, this is the API that we want to publish now, or that is the API, but we want to collaborate with the app developers in an open way. And Covesa is the right place to go to do this. Yeah, I mean, the talks are public, so everybody's invited to join there, and we don't want to publish just any API, but the API that bring value to app developers so that you can make sense of it or do something sensible with it. And yeah, I mean, I can speak for BMW. We are definitely committed for this path forward. But we are also aware that it will be a tricky road. Yeah.
So talking about Covesa, because Forvi is also quite involved there. Yes, it's true, it's slow. And most important, I think we need to pass the message. The objective is not to replace what Google is doing, it's to bridge the gap whenever we need something that is not available outside of the gas world. And I think push notifications, it's a good example. So it's true, it went slow, but if you look at gas, you don't have push notifications yet on Android Automotive. So we're not being slower than our counterpart, let's say. And I think that the real proof that this is working is when we have at least one app with more than one OEM using one of these bricks from the Covesa SDK. We know that, for instance, Zoom is committed to use the push notifications. what it is being defined. Let's see if we are successful. I hope so. And it's important also to get the feedback from the community to improve.